You rise in the gray pre-dawn. You offer up your irreplaceable hours, your focused intellect, your creative fire, and receive in return flickering digits on a screen. Digits that vanish like mist into the abyss of taxes, inflated rents, predatory interest, and the gnawing, unspoken terror of scarcity. You collapse into sheets heavy with the dread of dawn's return. Society anoints this ritual virtue. It preaches hard work as secular salvation, the bedrock of character, the only covenant with security. Robert Kiyosaki, the financial Cassandra whose warnings echo through decades of manufactured poverty, delivers a far more devastating judgment. It's slavery. Not the crude irons of antiquity, but an exquisitely engineered, digitally enhanced bondage, a century-spanning conspiracy meticulously designed to harvest your time, siphon your spirit, and annihilate your innate sovereignty, all while enriching a system whose gears are greased by your despair. The cult of hard work isn't your path. It's the labyrinth ensuring you never find the exit. This grand deception, this poverty conspiracy, finds its genesis not in shadowy cabals, but in the glaring fluorescent heart of the modern classroom. From the moment a child first learns to parrot "Good morning, teacher," and suppress the fidgeting urge to explore, the machinery of domestication whirs to life. Sit still, raise your hand, memorize the approved answers, chase the external validation of grades, secure the safe job. The drumbeat is relentless, insidious, inescapable. Your worth is measured solely by compliance. Your value is quantified only by your capacity for labor. This is not education, it is systemic programming. Its purpose is not liberation, but the mass production of efficient, interchangeable components, cogs perfectly shaped for the economic machine. Critical thought about the nature of money, the architecture of power, the alchemy of ownership, these are dangerous heresies, meticulously excised from the curriculum. Why illuminate the exponential wealth-generating magic of compound interest when rote obedience serves the status quo? Why dissect the lifeblood of cash flow when enforced conformity maintains the illusion of meritocracy? Kiyosaki's indictment cuts to the marrow. Schools are factories, their product, compliant workers, not critical capitalists. They forge human machinery, not sovereign architects of destiny. This is domestication disguised as enlightenment. It primes generations for a lifetime of trading finite, precious time, the one truly non-renewable resource, for depreciating fiat currency, mistaking frantic, draining activity for meaningful achievement, and worshiping the bi-weekly paycheck as a false idol promising salvation it can never deliver.
This grand deception, this poverty conspiracy, finds its genesis not in shadowy cabals, but in the glaring fluorescent heart of the modern classroom. From the moment a child first learns to parrot "Good morning, teacher," and suppress the fidgeting urge to explore, the machinery of domestication whirs to life. Sit still, raise your hand, memorize the approved answers, chase the external validation of grades, secure the safe job. The drumbeat is relentless, insidious, inescapable. Your worth is measured solely by compliance. Your value is quantified only by your capacity for labor. This is not education, it is systemic programming. Its purpose is not liberation, but the mass production of efficient, interchangeable components, cogs perfectly shaped for the economic machine. Critical thought about the nature of money, the architecture of power, the alchemy of ownership, these are dangerous heresies, meticulously excised from the curriculum. Why illuminate the exponential, wealth-generating magic of compound interest when rote obedience serves the status quo? Why dissect the lifeblood of cash flow when enforced conformity maintains the illusion of meritocracy? Kiyosaki's indictment cuts to the marrow. Schools are factories. Their product? Compliant workers, not critical capitalists. They forge human machinery, not sovereign architects of destiny. This is domestication disguised as enlightenment. It primes generations for a lifetime of trading, finite, precious time, the one truly non-renewable resource, for depreciating fiat currency, mistaking frantic, draining activity for meaningful achievement, and worshipping the bi-weekly paycheck as a false idol promising salvation it can never deliver. The blueprint of this entrapment is laid bare in Kiyosaki's revolutionary cash flow quadrant, a conceptual scalpel dissecting the illusion of economic choice. On the left, shackled and perpetually drained, lie the slave quadrants. The employee kneels perpetually before a master, be it a corporate entity or a bureaucratic state. You trade your most vital resource, your hours, your presence, your mental and physical vitality for wages brutally diminished by the highest marginal tax rates. Your loyalty is rewarded with the specter of layoffs whispered in quarterly reports. Your overtime builds pyramids you will never own. Your deferred dreams suffocate beneath the suffocating weight of company policy and the soul-crushing commute. You build empires on foundations of sand, castles whose deeds bear another's name. Security? A fragile illusion shattered by a single email, a market crash, or the cold calculus of automation. Beside them, trapped in a gilded cage of their own frantic construction, writhes the self-employed S. Doctor, lawyer, consultant, freelancer, the small business owner drowning in 80-hour weeks. You mistakenly believed you traded a single overlord for freedom. Instead, you installed a more demanding, insidious jailer, yourself. Your income is chained directly to your physical or mental output. Cease labor, the coins cease flowing. Crave respite, a moment of true disconnection, your income stream withers. You possess not an empire, but a job, a demanding, all-consuming entity that owns you. You are Sisyphus in a suit, mistaking the sweat of perpetual exertion for the sweet air of autonomy. Society venerates these paths, E and S, as the pinnacle of responsibility and societal contribution. It demonizes stillness as laziness and sanctifies the grind as moral imperative. Yet Kiyosaki's truth resonates with the chilling clarity of a funeral bell. The E and S quadrants are the digital age plantations. You are not building wealth, you are renting your existence shackled in perpetuity to the time for money equation, a mathematical curse meticulously designed to ensure perpetual scarcity and dependence. Your sweat doesn't irrigate your fields, it merely oils the relentless gears of the machine that owns your waking hours.
This conspiracy deepens, metastasizing through the deliberate, systemic weaponization of financial illiteracy. The architects of dependence invert language, poisoning the very wellspring of understanding. They proclaim with paternalistic assurance, "Your house is your greatest asset," while Kiyosaki, the iconoclast, roars the corrective truth. For 99% of homeowners, it is a profound liability. It is a voracious beast, devouring wealth through mortgage interest bleeding over decades, relentless property taxes,
mandatory insurance, and the inevitable costly decay of roofs, pipes, and foundations. Unless it actively generates significant, positive monthly cash flow into your pocket, like a well-managed rental property you own, it is not an asset. It is a wealth extraction device disguised as the comforting myth of home ownership. They croon, "Your new car is a symbol of success," while the brutal reality whispers, "It is a rapidly depreciating steel coffin for your capital, hemorrhaging value the moment it leaves the lot, draining you further through loans, fuel, insurance, and maintenance." They chant the mantra, "A college degree is your ticket to security," as the trap snaps shut. Student loan debt is 21st century indentured servitude, chains forged of compound interest that bind graduates to decades of hard labor within the E or S quadrants, merely to repay the exorbitant price of admission to their own gilded cage. What, then, constitutes genuine wealth? Kiyosaki's definition is a blade of crystalline clarity slicing through the fog of propaganda. A true asset is anything that consistently puts money into your pocket automatically, relentlessly, while you sleep, travel, heal, or simply breathe. Rental properties generating positive cash flow month after month, year after year. Scalable businesses operating profitably without your suffocating day-to-day presence. Systems you own, not jobs you perform. Dividends flowing reliably from ownership stakes in thriving enterprises. Royalties paid for intellectual property created once but paying endlessly. The system abhors this knowledge because true assets possess a revolutionary power. They shatter the fundamental time for money curse. They generate autonomy, the existential threat to a system whose survival depends on legions of dependent workers and perpetually consuming debtors.
The tentacles of the poverty conspiracy strangle the very pillars of societal power. Taxation is the vampiric engine bleeding the laborer class dry. Income wrested from the soul-crushing toil of the E and S quadrants is butchered at rates of 30%, 40%, 50% or more. Yet the wealth generated by true assets, capital gains from investments, dividends from ownership, cash flow from businesses, is coddled by a tax code meticulously crafted by and for the asset-owning class, often taxed at significantly lower rates. The system doesn't tax wealth, it taxes the active laboring. Your hard work is the state's most reliable, most heavily milked cash cow. Banking and credit function not as facilitators of prosperity, but as merchants of elegant bondage. Credit cards with usurious rates, auto loans on depreciating metal, subprime mortgages, these aren't tools for building wealth, they are needles injecting the poison of dependency. The financial priesthood prospers magnificently when the masses drown in a sea of payments, forever too desperate, too exhausted, and too financially illiterate to escape the Sisyphean grind. The grand illusion of security is the conspiracy's most potent opiate. That safe job, that stable career path? Kiyosaki scorns it with prophetic fury. Seeking security through labor alone is the surest path to profound insecurity. It is poverty wearing its most seductive, most treacherous mask. In an era of accelerating technological disruption, artificial intelligence, and global economic volatility, tethering your survival and your family's future solely to the whims of a single employer or the limits of your own exhausted hands isn't safety, it's catastrophic, willful vulnerability.
True, unassailable security blooms only from owning a diversified portfolio of income-generating assets. Assets that pump life-giving cash into your accounts irrespective of your daily labor, your location, or the market's temporary convulsions. Kiyosaki's gospel, however, is not a hymn of despair. It is a clarion call to intellectual and financial insurrection. Escaping the slave quadrant demands not just action, but a fundamental psychic revolution, a shattering of deeply ingrained myths. Annihilate the labor idol. Stop begging the system, "I need a job." Begin commanding your own destiny. I require assets that generate passive cash flow. Recognize labor not as an end, but as temporary fuel, a means to acquire the assets that will ultimately liberate you. Your sweat should serve your strategy, not define your existence. Become a ruthless asset hunter. Train your eyes to see the world through the lens of cash flow. Interrogate every significant expenditure with predator-like focus. Does this relentlessly, predictably pump money into my pocket? E.g., a well-located rental property, a dividend-paying stock bought at value, a scalable online business. If yes, acquire it with disciplined fervor. Does it relentlessly suck money out? E.g., the mortgage on your primary residence, car payments, luxury vacations funded by debt. If yes, excise it from your financial body like a cancerous tumor. This is not frugality, it is strategic warfare against the poverty mindset.
Master the forbidden alchemy of debt. Understand that debt is not inherently evil. It is a tool. Its morality defined solely by its use. Bad debt is chains. It finances liabilities and depreciating consumer goods, deepening your servitude. Good debt, however, is a scalpel in the hands of the awakened. Leverage borrowed capital, OPM, other people's money, at favorable rates to acquire income-generating assets, cash-flowing real estate, equipment for a scalable business, stakes in productive enterprises. This is how the truly rich accelerate their escape velocity, using the system's own mechanisms against it. Seize the stolen knowledge. Reclaim the financial education deliberately withheld. Become an autodidact in the forbidden arts. Study cash flow statements like sacred texts. Dissect balance sheets. Understand the strategies behind tax efficiency, legal minimization, not evasion. Learn market dynamics, real estate cycles, the psychology of investing. This knowledge is not dry theory. It is your sword, your shield, your key to the gilded cage. Financial literacy is the ultimate liberation theology. Ascend to the right side of the quadrant. Your liberation lies in migrating to the domains Kiyosaki identifies as the true paths to freedom. Not a self-employed job owner, but a system builder. Create or acquire businesses that generate profit systematically through processes and people independent of your daily toil. Own the engine, not the spark plug. Scale beyond the limits of your own labor. Make capital your tireless silent army. Deploy money strategically into assets, real estate, businesses, stocks, bonds, commodities that generate consistent returns, cash flow, appreciation, dividends. Your money works relentlessly while you reclaim your time, your mind, your life. The cult of hard work, venerated as society's highest virtue, is the most potent opiate peddled by the poverty conspiracy.
It is the golden chain that keeps the masses docile, drains their vitality, and blinds them to the fundamental truth. Their suffering and scarcity are not personal failings, but the deliberate outputs of a system engineered to harvest their life force. Kiyosaki's life's work is not a call to idleness. It is a battle cry for radical financial intelligence and sovereign ownership. It demands the complete rejection of the glorification of futile toil within a rigged game. It compels the embrace of the strategic, relentless acquisition and cultivation of assets, the only entities capable of generating true, unassailable freedom. The system trembles at its core when the worker awakens, when the slave realizes the chains are psychological constructs, and the keys lie not in working harder within the machine, but in understanding cash flow, wielding capital, and owning the mechanisms of production. Stop renting your existence hour by precious hour. Begin constructing an empire, an interconnected web of income-generating assets that pays you simply to exist. Hard work is the mournful anthem of the enslaved. Intelligent, strategic ownership is the triumphant hymn of the sovereign. The conspiracy stands exposed, naked in its manipulation. The choice before you is stark, brutal, and utterly defining. Will you remain human lubricant for the grinding gears of the machine, or will you ignite the inextinguishable fire of your own financial revolution? The chains are yours to shatter. The quadrant is yours to cross. The empire is yours to build.